Hi guys, Ali Taylor down here at Heron's Reach, and today I'm going to be looking at two new clubs from TaylorMade. We've got the Sim DHY and we've also got the Sim UDI. So more new products from TaylorMade. So the DHY and the UDI are replacements for the GAPR. So basically the UDI is replacing the GAPR low and the DHY is replacing the GAPR mid. I'm going to have a close-up look at both heads and I'm going to show you the GAPRs as well, just to show you kind of how similar they are, kind of different finish, but incredibly similar in design. But what really are these clubs designed for? Are they irons? Are they hybrids? Well, they're actually neither. So what TaylorMade are calling these is driving hybrids. So is that another category of golf club? I think whatever you want to call it, what TaylorMade are marketing this as is these clubs should fit in between your longest iron and your most lofted fairway wood, which is predominantly where hybrids would sit for most guys. But some golfers out there aren't that comfortable with hybrids, prefer the look of an iron, but maybe just need that little bit of help. So I think these two, I'm expecting quite different ball flights, and I think visually, certainly to my eye, the UDI really fits my eye. I love the look. Not quite as keen, and you'll understand why when we see the close-up of the DHY, but I'm going to hit shots with both, talk about kind of ball flight, distances they hit the ball. I'm also going to hit a shot with my 4-iron and a shot with my 3-wood, because that's kind of my gap in there as to where this would fit, and see, would either of these clubs fill that gap? So when you look at the Sim DHY, you know, it looks much more like a hybrid, you know, hollow construction. We've got some weight down in the bottom. We've got the speed slot for that lower strike. And certainly when you look at the sole, it's a very, very wide sole. So expecting that CG to be low and getting the ball in the air. When you look at it down behind the golf ball, again, it's looking much more like a hybrid or a driving iron, hence the driving hybrid idea. But certainly for me, maybe not visually what I would be looking for in a golf club. And certainly when you look at what it's replacing, the GAPR mid, you know, so look incredibly similar from behind. Obviously the GAPR mid's got that little cavity in the top, but we're looking at the sole, maybe not quite as wide on the UDI as it was on the GAPR mid, but all in all, looking incredibly similar apart from the much more polished finish as opposed to the black finish. So when we look at the Sim UDI, we've got the weight still low down, but in the back rather than the sole. So we've still got that speed slot again for that low strike, but a really good looking golf club from behind. Certainly when you look kind of at the sole, you know, it's noticeably a thinner sole than the DHY, but still there's a little bit there that would expect to get the ball up in the air, and certainly down behind the golf ball, quite a thick top line, but you can't see too much of the club behind down at the ground. And for me, this visually probably fits my eye a little bit more than DHY. But then when you look at GAPR low, you know, we see a lot of similarities, got that weight in the back again. Again, we've got that little bit of a cavity with the GAPR, and obviously with the GAPR you've got that adjustability around the hosel where you can play around with loft and club face position, whereas both the new Sim UDI and the Sim DHY are both glued. Right then, so as I said at the start, the idea of one of these clubs, maybe a couple depending on what kind of iron and fairway wood, is that it fits between your longest iron, which for me would be my 4-iron, and your most lofted fairway wood, which would be my 3-wood. So I'm going to hit a shot first with my 4-iron, normally about 190 carry. And let's see if we're kind of there or thereabouts. And when we look at that shot there, yeah, round about that 190 carry. Okay, so that's good. So my 4-iron does what I expect it to do. So that moves me into 3-wood. Now, much more for me, I would hit either of these clubs off the tee, but more kind of shots off the floor is what I'm bothered about with carry. So normally around that 240, maybe with a really good one, 250 at a push carry, but looking for around about that 240 yards carry. felt good. Decent height. And again, we'll look at the numbers there, just over 240. So quite a big gap in my bag. And that's where, for me, I'm always looking at kind of a 2-iron or a 3-iron to plug that gap. So I probably need something that carries round about that, let's say 215 to 220, but potentially that I could hit high enough into a green and get the ball stopping. So certainly out the design of the two clubs, certainly the DHY should give me a slightly higher ball flight and maybe a slightly softer landing. So I've got 2-iron in both, so might go a little bit further than I need, but I'm going to hit half a dozen shots, going to show kind of some ball flight, some numbers. Then I'm going to hit the UDI, again half a dozen, Titleist Pro V1X, on TrackMan, show you some ball flight, talk about the height of the shots, the distance the ball's carrying, see if either of these would fit in my bag, and kind of give you some feedback as to, you know, if you're looking to put something like this in your bag, maybe which one of these two models might best suit you as a golfer. So DHY, first of all, like we saw with the close-up of the head, certainly when you put the club behind the golf ball, you see a lot of the back of the club behind the golf ball. And I made the comment myself that maybe not visually the nicest looking club, but it'll be interesting. I haven't hit any shots in warm-up with these, so it'll be interesting to see kind of what the flights are like. So normally irons, I would be round about that kind of 90 feet peak height, maybe touch higher. So I'd potentially be looking for a club like this to be round about the same peak height. Oh, that feels quick off the face. Okay. Now I'm going to try not to look at any numbers. Obviously you guys will see the numbers shot by shot as they're coming up, but that felt quick, was a good height. Looked like the ball went a long way as well for a 2-iron. Oh, have to say, I do like the way that feels. I do like the height of the shots. A couple of crooked ones side to side, but that's me, not the club. And I will look once I've hit UDI, not just at distances, but also dispersion. Now, bearing in mind, my opinion would be that this club should, on off-centre strikes, maybe lend itself a bit more accuracy than UDI. But I think those side-to-side shots for me were more me than the club. But like I said, I did like that. Looked not great, felt incredible, and the shots, well, you guys saw there, the ball was really, really getting out there. So let's move across onto UDI. Now, I said at the start, certainly for me, this club definitely fits my eye. You know, I've had the P790 UDI 2-iron. When it first came out, it was in the bag for a while, but I probably struggled with UDI to get the ball launching high enough and maybe staying in the air long enough for me. It was very, very flat. Not bad off the tee, to be fair, but I don't always drop down. I'm looking for something that's a little bit higher off the tee, soft, that doesn't run out as much. And then even off the floor, I think I can keep it down if I want. I want that ability to get the ball in the air. So definitely for me, this club doesn't look like it's going to hit it up in the air like the DHY, but doesn't matter how it looks, it's how it works. So noticeably flatter with that first one, but let's just continue, let you guys see the ball flight on these, and I'll work through these next shots a bit quicker. Right then, so looking at those, I would say I controlled the club face better with the UDI. Not any reason, I think I just seemed to be a bit more accurate there, but probably didn't prefer the feel of the UDI quite as much as I like the DHY. So even though it ticks the box on looks, doesn't maybe tick the box on feel for me. So now let's look at the numbers between DHY and UDI and see which one performs how I need. So if we look at the averages for DHY there was a little bit of spread side to side, but average carry at 225, 244, good backspin at 3.3, and peak height at 87 feet, which is absolutely where I would want that to be. Now that moves us across to the UDI. Now, certainly a bit lower at 77 feet, but actually I'm really impressed with that. I wouldn't dislike that as a peak height. A little bit more spin at 3,500, but the carry more down at 213, 214 and 233 total. So very different kind of carry results and slightly different trajectory going from club to club. Now when we look at the dispersion rates there, we can see the UDI in yellow and the DHY in white. So a clear winner there with the UDI, but like I said, I don't necessarily feel in that instance that's really down to the club. I think that's more down to me, and certainly that one down on the right, I think if I did take that one out, I think we'd be pretty similar on dispersion. So I don't necessarily think that one club is more accurate than the next. So we can see the spread with the DHY there, one left, one right, 4 pretty straight ones. And we look at the UDI, again, 4 pretty straight ones and then 2 to the left. Right, so when we look at the 2 new clubs, for me, you know, both look good. I think, like I said, I thought UDI fit my eye, whereas DHY maybe not so much, but certainly on performance-wise, I definitely preferred the feel and the ball flight that DHY gave me. Now the little negative for me is if I'm looking for something to fit in between my 4-iron and my 3-wood, I think on carry distance the UDI worked, but I wouldn't be tempted to put that in my bag. I think I'd be tempted to put DHY in my bag, but as a 3 as opposed to a 2. I think it's going to go a little bit further than a 3-iron would, so I think it's 3 DHY is going to go more 2-iron distance for me. But I love maybe that extra versatility that with the thicker sole, I think I could hit it high and soft if I wanted. But if I did really, really want to keep one down, I still think I can do that with that club. So I think certainly versatility-wise, DHY really comes out on top for me personally. But I think if you're looking for something to fit in between your longest iron and your most lofted fairway wood, either one of these 2 clubs is definitely worth a try, but you need to get along, get fitted, check on ball flight, check on distance, and if you do put something in your bag, put something in your bag that plugs that gap perfectly, not that does the same job as something already in your bag. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like it and share it, comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. If you have already tried these, let me know what you thought and let me know, did one of them go in your bag? It'd be interesting to see what the split is. I think there'll be more DHYs that go in than UDIs, but that's just my opinion. But if you have enjoyed today's content and you don't currently subscribe, please consider clicking that subscribe button below, ringing the notification bell, and then you'll find out whenever I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.